Happy Tuesday, everyone. Shepasaurus here, and Rubius, a Return of Reckoning developer, has just dropped a massive post on the forums, not only highlighting the massive amount of work the development team has completed in the past year, but also sharing the upcoming PvE and dungeon roadmap through 2025. I'm currently just showing some PvP action from my latest Return of Reckoning live stream, so feel free to put the phone down and just listen as you continue your endgame renown rank grind. If you want to skip ahead, feel free to use the bookmarks below, but let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Let's start with the 2024 improvements that we have already seen. Many of you who follow me on here have also just started or just come back to the game in 2024, like myself, and may not have been aware of how much the game has improved this past year. This really is a fantastic time to be getting into Return of Reckoning. Almost all of the dungeons in the game were broken at the beginning of last year, and the dev team has rebuilt Gunbad, Bastion Stairs, and the Hunter's Veil. These dungeon gear sets are staple to the majority of classes' gear progression. When I say rebuilt, I mean most of the mechanics and abilities for bosses and mobs were completely revisited and redesigned to work with the Return of Reckoning ability system rework. Additionally, Sigmar's Crypt for the Order and Balrot Burrows for the Destruction faction were also relaunched and rebalanced so that the time to clear was closer between the factions. Brand new bosses were added, new mechanics were added for almost all the bosses. On top of the dungeon reworks, the development team also took feedback from these dungeon relaunches and then applied it to the 24-person Chapter 22 raids. These raids were built from the ground up with brand new mechanics. We're talking brand new code. The Onslaught gear set for this raid was also rebalanced and enhanced. And at least on the destruction side, I always see groups getting put together for this. Looking at you, Goblin Workers Union. Finally, at the end of 2024, the team released a brand new dungeon with custom voice acting, scripting, and secrets. Dragonback Pass was built largely from scratch and is a great tutorial for new players coming into Return of Reckoning on how their class works in a dungeon setting. If you haven't tried it out, it's from level, I think, 10 to 14, really. You go through, you get some awesome equipment, you unlock your first ward, lots of stuff to do in there and secrets to find. Rubius makes a very good point in his post regarding a question many players may have on why is the development team focusing on improving the player versus environment aspect of a game, primarily known for its realm versus realm and player versus player combat. His response is simple. Better PvE means more players, and more players means a healthier game for all, no matter your playstyle. I agree with this 100%. I can't tell you how many people have asked me, what if I'm not really into PvP? This game looks fun and I'd like to play it, but I would at least like to spend most of my time in PvE. Yes, the answer is yes. You can do it thanks to this development team. Not only can you do it, but you can save a lot of crest and have a lot of fun doing it. Now what you've been waiting for, a look at what's coming up in the spring and summer timeline on the PvE front. Just be warned, schedules can and often do change for a wide range of reasons, so think of this as more of a guideline or plan for the future of Warhammer Online. Rubius provided us with a PvE and events roadmap with their developer update, as we have seen. First up is the Return of Lost Vale, a high elf themed dungeon that takes your party in search of Alariel, the Everqueen, and will award the Dark Promise set. It is anticipated that the Lost Vale dungeon will arrive this summer, with testing starting as early as March. The development team will also be continuing to make improvements to the quality of life in the existing dungeons, including rebalancing and bug fixes to Bastion Stairs, adding a speedrun quest to the Crypts and Balrot, enhancements to various boss fights in Gunbad, and adding a new teleport after the middle wing spider boss is killed. Thank God. I can't tell you how many times we've had to run back through there due to wiping. And a boss balancing and bug fix to Hunter's Veil dungeon. Along with the bug fixes and rebalancing in the spring, the dev team is also working to bring unified mechanic visuals to the dungeon boss fight. For example, in the new dungeon Dragonback Pass, they introduced showing a shield icon over a player, which meant the tank needed to swap guards to that player. A similar visual will appear when a boss's mechanics is requiring the tank to guard swap, or a red beam over a player's head in any boss encounter may mean the same thing, such as a player is going to drop an AoE puddle. Don't stand in the bad puddles. Now, what's going on beyond the summer of 2025? After release of the Lost Veil dungeon, the dev team will start on a new Tier 3 dungeon for players in the mid-tiers. This will fill the void in a new characters 1 through 40 journey between completing the Destruction Sac dungeon or the Order's sewer dungeon at level 16, and then Gunbad once you're getting close to level 40. There's a whole 24 levels there where there's no dungeon and you're just grinding PvE content. If you're doing PvE, this will give players more options for gearing, more PvE content to challenge, hopefully meaning no longer spamming for Ruin Farm or Mayhem Farm and toiling away at public quests for 12 hours. Rubius also mentioned that they still have the Tomb of the Vulture Lord on their internal roadmap, which would mark the finish line, so to speak, in their work to rebuild and improve all the original dungeons from live. This is a massive undertaking to rebuild the entire Playerverse environment Tomb of Vulture Lord map. This includes 18 public quests, 4 layers, and a Tomb of the Vulture Lord dungeon. I believe this will be a part of the Land of the Dead instance area, but we will just have to wait until the end of 2025 or possibly 2026 to hear more about it. The development team is also finalizing rework of Tier 3 quests and their rewards. If you're like me and tried out quite a bit of the PvE in this game, you may have had the same thought that the rewards you get for quests and public quests as you get into higher levels don't seem to be that enticing to chase for. Well, all rewards are being improved, bugs are being squashed, and quests are being given a more logical path to follow to completion. Lastly, Rubius goes over some upcoming live events. Coming up in March is the Wild Hunt event, just in time for the spring equinox and the rebirth of Orion. In April, players can get their egg baskets ready as the pesky Eastern Wyverns are making a return. In May, we will get the Sigmar Tag event. I'm reading mumblings about Sigmar sizzling sausages. Sounds fantastic. In June, we will welcome the summer equinox with the Feast of Shoika event. And finally, in July, we will look forward to the Twilight Tide event and the return of special crafted rings. To find out more about each of these live events as details released throughout the year, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to my channel so you don't miss out on the announcement. If you are new to Warhammer Online, feel free to check out my Discord, linked on my homepage, links to lots of starter guides, and a slew of interesting and sometimes helpful players to group with. I do stream at least 3 times a week, typically on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday nights from 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern time. So if you're bored, can't sleep, or just want to hear my lovely voice, please be sure to stop in and say hi.